Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Muhammad Zulkifli Al and today I want to make a video that belongs to my assignment. Yeah, today I want to take you into the world, uh, you know, of a 6-year-old learning English for the very first time. Okay, so uh, because teaching a child a new language is a completely different job from teaching an adult. Here I am. And in next few minutes, I'll show you why and what that means in real classroom, especially here in Indonesia. So, uh, I'm sorry, there's kind of loadings. Okay, here's our journey. First, I'll walk you through the core principles in TEYL, how children actually learn language. Then I'm gonna take you to approaches and methods, and also it's about teachers used to bring those principles alive. After that, how we teach for skill such as listening, speaking, and reading and writing to young learners specifically. Then the fun part, I gonna talk about games, songs, and stories, turn all of this into something children actually want to do. And finally, I get real. I'll talk about the issues of TEYL in Indonesia. We face in Indonesia based on real research from Indonesian classroom. Next. Okay, so here's the truth. Children are not small adults. You can't just take an adult English class and shrink it down. Children learn through their sense, sight, sound, touch, movement, not through explaining grammar rules. That's why learning by doing uh, matters so much. A child who acts out a word remembers it far better than one who just hears it. And classroom also needs to be fun and low anxiety because a child who's afraid of making mistake simply stop trying to speak. Language is to come through meaningful context also. Real situation, not isolated drills, and it needs also routines and repetition. Give children a sense of safety, they know what's coming next, and because young learners have short attention spans, activities need to stay short and period. These six principles are the foundation, everything else it builds on. So next, so how do teachers actually put those principles into practice? There's a few key approach. First one is total physical response or TPR, where learners respond to commands with their whole body. Think, stand up, touch your nose, jump. It literally connects language to movement. And also we have communicative language teaching. Shift the focus from grammar accuracy to real interaction. Can the child actually communicate mistakes at all? And the whole language approach. Introduce English through complete, meaningful text, stories, and songs instead of isolated vocabulary lists. And then we have content and theme based instruction. Wraps English around topics kids already love, like animals, family, or about weather. And here we have task-based learning. Gives children a real job to do with something short, something using English as the tool to get it done. And here's the thread. Every method above shares one goal, making English input comprehensible, active, and enjoyable rather than rule-driven and passive. So this is really necessary for effective TEYL. Next, teaching the four skills. We have listening. For listening, we can use songs, chants, stories, and TPR commands. It is built the ear before we ever expect a child to speak. And for speaking, we use drilling, simple dialogues, chants, and games always low pressure because confidence come before fluency. And then we have reading. For reading, we start with phonics. Picture books. It is connecting sounds to print in a way that feels playful and not academic. And the last thing we have writing. For writing, children move step by step from tracing letters to copying words to eventually labeling pictures on their own. So we need to notice the pattern. Everything moves from support and physical toward independent and abstract. That's intentional. That's how children brains are wired to build language. And we have my favorite part because this is the where TEYL really comes alive. Games, songs, and stories. Games turn drilling into play. A flashcard race or a game of bingo reinforce vocabulary without it even feeling like a test. TPR games like Simon Says connect word directly to action. And board and team games like Snake and Ladders, board with English question teach children to take turns, follow rules, and use language socially, not just academically. And next we have songs. You songs work almost like magic in a young learner's brain. Rhythm and rhyme make vocabulary and sentence patterns stick in a memory far longer than playing repetition ever could. Singing the same chorus over and over builds natural pronunciation without the stress of a formal speaking test. When we pair action and gestures with lyrics, we're essentially combining songs with TPR, meaning sings it twice as fast. And there's something else songs do that's easy to underestimate. They build community. When a whole class sing together, shy children join in without even realizing they're speaking English. So it is fair enough. And the next one, we have storytelling. Maybe the oldest teaching tool humans have. Good story-based teaching happens in three stages. Pre-story, we introduce key vocabulary and pictures so children know what to expect while the story happening. It is we read aloud with voice, gestures, and pause, inviting children to predict what happened next. And post-story, it is we can retell, act it out, or ask simple question. That's where the language actually, gets locked in. Yeah, stories don't just teach vocabulary, they build imagination, sequencing skills, and even moral understanding all at once. And the next one, we have issues. So, everything I've just described is the idea. But when we look at real classroom across Indonesia, through actual published research, a different picture emerged. Across these studies, five recurring issues show up again and again. We have policy and curriculum inconsistency, teacher competency gaps, resource and infrastructure shortage, learner psychological challenge, and instructional design struggles. So let's go through each one. Okay, first, policy and curriculum inconsistency. Indonesia's national curriculum has shifted multiple times from Kurikulum 2013 to Kurikulum Merdeka without a single unified syllabus for English at the primary level. Maisani and Mustafa found something uh, fascinating. Many schools engage in what researchers call bottom-up defiance. They keep teaching English as local content on their own initiative, even when it's not required. That sounds admirable, but it actually leads to massive inconsistency. Different textbook, different starting grades, chaos from school to school. And primary, Amelia and Sukyayadi found that teachers want to evaluate their programs, but they are rarely given the instructional space to do it. So the curriculum keeps evolving with almost no feedback loop. And another thing is we have Second one, teacher competency and training. In many schools, there simply isn't a dedicated English teacher. So, homeroom teachers with non pedagogical background in language teaching are asked to teach it anyway. Haryanti and Yolanda's research in Jakarta uncovered something really telling. Pre-service teachers genuinely believe in communicative, student-centered teaching, but once they're actually in the classroom, they fall back on rigid, teacher-centered methods. That's not a lack of good intention. It's a lack of training and support to actually execute what they believe in. Third, we have educational resource and infrastructure. Many classrooms simply don't have enough teaching device or media. And even when good material exists commercially, they're often too expensive for schools to afford. Puspita Sari's research in rural central Java found something particularly striking. Large class size combined with serious infrastructural limitation make even the most well-designed lesson plan difficult to execute. And another study points to a clear solution direction: training teachers to design low-cost, homegrown materials instead of relying on expensive commercial tools. That's poor, isn't it? And yeah, we have another issue, fourth, the learners themselves. Many children start with zero prior English exposure and motivation fluctuates, and real speaking anxiety is common. Some students, or even parents, carry negative perception toward English as a subject, and simply managing a room full of energetic, diverse 6 and 7 years old is its own daily challenge. And fifth one, we have instructional design and execution. You know, despite everything we know about child-centered, hands-on learning, classroom often the food allocated to English is often extremely limited, and teachers face real everyday hardship in lesson planning, in finding suitable materials, and in assessing young children fairly. Okay, so put together, these five issues explain a real gap. We know what good TEYL looks like, the principles, the methods, the game, and songs and stories, but turning that knowledge into everyday practice across an entire country is genuinely hard. So, here's what I want you to take away from this. TEYL succeeds when playful, sensory, learner-centered principles meet real classroom support. Games, songs, and stories are genuinely powerful tools. I believe that completely. But in Indonesia, their full impact is still held back by policy gaps, training gaps, resource shortage, and classroom realities that researchers keep documenting year after year. Closing those gaps through better teacher training, clear policy, and more accessible resources is what will finally let these principles reach every young learners, not just the lucky one. So maybe that's all. Thank you so much for watching. I'd love to hear what your thoughts.